Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of the Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I'm your host, Derek Champagne. We've got Dr. Phil Carson here with us today. He's an entrepreneur. He is the founder of Carson Natural Health, co-founder of the Life Transformation Medical Center, certified diabetes care pharmacist, certified consultant pharmacist, certified lifestyle coach, certified 48 days coach. Dr. Carson, thanks for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you, Derek. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be with you today.
So you being an entrepreneur for many, many years, and we talked before the show started about stress, and you're going to go through some tips for us today about stress and talk to us about our overall health. But let's start with your journey. As an entrepreneur, let's talk about your journey and just your background a little bit. Why don't you just catch us up a little bit about how you got where you are today?
All right, be glad to. Yeah, I was traditionally trained as a pharmacist, graduated from pharmacy school at Ole Miss in 1985, and went right into practice in a chain store, the small regional chain. After being there for a year, I was promoted to manager, and there's where all the stress really began. A lot of it, because being a year out of pharmacy school and being promoted to manager of a pretty good size pharmacy chain store, man, it was a major amount of stress. I went through a lot with that, and ended up having some pretty ill effects on my health. The stress was causing me to have ulcers. I was drinking a couple of bottles of antacid every day, liquid antacids every day, to try to control the reflux and the heartburn, indigestion, all that kind of stuff going on. Sleeping in a recliner most nights. It was just stress. I gained a lot of weight. But fortunately, an independent pharmacist came along a little over a year after I took this job as a manager, and said, "Hey, I've got another store I've opened up. The guy that was running it for me is leaving. Would you consider it?" And it was a small store in a small town, and I said, absolutely. So I went to work for this guy, built this store up for him, and after quite a few years of working with him, he decided to sell. Another guy came in. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, so I made the decision to open up my own store at that point. Went to another small town all the way across the county on the other side of the county, and opened up a store from scratch. And started out with 0 patients, and built it up, and ended up opening up another store in another town. And was doing extremely well until the crisis hit in 2008, 2009 with our economy. Things started going downhill. I had a big government contract with a clinic, government-funded clinic that was next door to my pharmacy that originally opened up. Lost that contract. Tried to sell the stores. Couldn't get anybody to buy. Things just kept going, further south and getting worse and worse. And ended up closing the first store, and a little over a year and a half or so later, closed the second store. Lost everything I had but my house.
Wow.
Yeah, and I, had built those 2 stores up, and they were doing several $1 million in sales a year, and went from that to nothing, and losing it all. So there's a long, brief, synopsis of what I went through on a journey of quite a few years there. A lot of stress involved in all of that.
So how do a couple things stand out to me. One is that you were at the chain store and you weren't happy there, and somebody came along and presented an opportunity to leave. But how long do you think you would have been there? Or is that something you can even answer if that second opportunity hadn't come along for me? And then I want to hear a little bit also about how you dealt in those valleys with that disappointment and a couple different times and that stand out in your career.
Oh, yeah. Well, as far as the situation with the chain, if that opportunity hadn't have come along, I told somebody at that time when that opportunity did come along, I am ready to leave, the pharmacy profession. I'm ready. I would dig ditches right now to get rid of the stress that I'm under. I was actually looking at possibly changing careers at that time. I had a guy I was working with in another business. I actually got my securities license to sell securities at that time because I was looking at doing something totally different because it was so stressful.
Wow.
And
so tell me about the valleys. Tell me about. We talk to guests often and talk to clients often, and they'll talk about a point in their life where there was disappointment or failure, and I've had those in my life too.
Oh yeah.
What was it like in those valleys, and how did you come out of them?
Yeah. Well, the biggest valley was when in 2009, December 31st, 2009, I locked the door on what was my dream. That second store that I had built was a natural pharmacy. Now I started shifting my practice years ago toward natural pharmacy and working with people on the natural side of things. I would have people come in my pharmacy that were asking me questions about supplements and herbal products and nutritionals that I didn't know how to answer because I was taught in pharmacy school the history of natural medicine, not the application of it.
Okay.
So I began to shift toward that. And so the second pharmacy I opened up was geared to that. It was geared to providing all kinds of natural products and supplements, working with people and that were seeking out that kind of help, and counseling, doing coaching and counseling with people, helping them get their life back when they were diagnosed with a particular health problem or whatever that they didn't want to take a handful of drugs for. And so that was my dream, and that's what I was gearing that pharmacy toward and working to build it to that type of pharmacy. But anyway, I locked the door on that dream December 31st, 2009. And like I said, I lost everything I had but my house. And fortunately, I had a pharmacist friend that I had helped out when he was having some downtime, and gave him some work, and he worked for me some, filling in when my stores were doing really good and really successful. And he had gone to work for a company in the town I was born in, Tupelo. And he called me one day, and he said, right after this all happened, and he said, "Hey, I need some help. We're going to have to hire another pharmacist. Our business here that I'm working in is growing, and he said we're going to need some more help. Would you come to work for us?" So that opportunity was provided for me there to give me a job. So I went to work for these guys and started doing some new things that I haven't done in the area of pharmacy. One of those was consulting, nursing home consulting. And in the process of doing that, I was traveling a lot, and I was working a lot of hours. And another opportunity came along in 2012. Another friend that had a diabetes care business came to me, and he said, "Hey, our business model is changing. The insurance plans are changing up. Medicare plans are changing." He said, "I need a pharmacist. A lot of these plans are going to a pharmacy only, and I've got to I need to open up a pharmacy. Can you help me? Can you open up one for me? Or can we partner together?" And so I said, "I don't know. I've got a job. I'm in this hole trying to dig my way out. I don't have anything to invest in any kind of new business, and it's going to be a pretty good risk." But my wife and I, we spent a lot of time in prayer about it and talked about it, and we said, "Hey, let's give it a try." So my investment in the business was some computer equipment that I had. some carpentry skills that I had to build out an office in a warehouse, and I worked for 6 months for no pay. Moonlighting, working at nights, working on the weekends. I got my family to help with me as much as I could when it started to get a little busy. Within a year of starting that business, I had to quit the job because it just kind of took off, and we got so busy that I couldn't continue to do both. It was killing me, the stress and the hours I was putting in trying to do both of those things. Couldn't continue to do it. I saw that and I realized, hey, something's got to give here. So I quit the job, went to work full time in the pharmacy that I had started up. And,
wow. So I've heard a common theme of you hitting some real stress points several times in your career early on. So you talk about one of the subjects you talk about, stress, the destroyer of body, soul, and spirit.
Yeah. Well, as I was going through those struggles of losing everything in that period of time there before I ended up with a successful business again, I was in a deep valley, and struggling mentally, physically, emotionally, the whole works. My body, soul, and spirit was definitely being affected by the heartbreak and the stress of everything that was going on during that time. And I'm a person of faith, and I had a strong faith for many, many years, and I know that's part of what helped me get through that dark time. And of course, my wife as well, strong lady of faith, strong Christian lady that is tremendous blessing to my life, has been always. But ours grew stronger as we worked through that valley together. But there would be a lot of times at night when I would come home and get off the road, and I would get outside, live out in the country, and I'd get out and walk up and down the road that I lived on. And it was, my time just to kind of de-stress, and time of prayer and meditation. And it was during that time that of trying to find a way to relieve that stress by exercising and by prayer and meditation, and because those are all great stress relievers. During that time that I began to make a confession. This confession began to come out of my mouth as more of an affirmation type confession, and I began to say, as I would walk up and down the road a lot of nights, I am happy, I am healthy, and I am whole. And I wasn't either of the three at the time, because I was saddened and heartbroken by the loss of my business I had built for all those years. I was soul sick, and I was in a hole, in a deep hole, not whole at all. But that confession kept coming out of my mouth continually. And I can say today, without reservation, I am happy, I am healthy, I am whole. And because that business that I started in that valley, I know without a doubt it was a blessing from the Lord, and we were given a great gift there to be able to have that and build that up. And this past year, I made the decision that it was time for me to move on and pursue that dream that I had of helping people naturally and coaching people and working with people. And Carson Natural Business, or Carson Natural Health, was revived and brought back. And I sold most of the shares I had in the pharmacy operation that I partnered with my friend on, and got a tremendous blessing there for the shares that I sold in that. Yeah.
How does someone recognize if the stress level in their life is too much for them to operate or to handle in a healthy way?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways that you recognize that, of course, you can look at your own physical health. What is it doing to you physically? What is it doing to you emotionally? How's your body reacting? How are you reacting in your interactions with other people, particularly with family? If you find yourself deteriorating physically, you find yourself your relationships deteriorating, then the stress is out of control, and it needs to be. You need to get control of it. And I tell people all the time when I'm counseling them, what you have to learn to do is to manage that stress and not let it manage you. And the ways that I was managing my stress is the ways that I just described. Getting that physical exercise that I was getting, having that quiet time, having that time of prayer and meditation. But I recognize that, hey, I've got to do something. Even though maybe I need to be doing this, or maybe I need to be busy doing, working, or I need to be spending some time with my family, I needed to heal. And so I could do more work, so I could spend more quality time with my family. And getting out and doing those things I was doing to relieve that stress was important. And I encourage people to do that all the time, is to recognize what's going on and start practicing those stress relieving techniques or those stress relieving exercises on a regular basis.
How do you feel about, or any advice you have for those of us that sometimes say, we're gonna have increased stress for a season, but this is going to end soon. We're launching a new product, or we've got a new team we're training, or any advice for? Is that manageable? Tell me how that works. Sometimes I know it's happened in my own life, and then sometimes we get in a pattern of such high volume or high productivity that's hard to dial it back down.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, and it is, and I've experienced that many times myself, and have been at the point of that right now. In the situation that I'm in with my business growing, and with Carson Natural Health growing, with the Life Transformation Medical Center we just opened up. I'm facing that actually now. But one thing that I learned as I went through this valley a few years ago is that the importance of having that quiet time every day, or at least most every day. And there may be some days where things are just crazy and you don't get an opportunity to do it. But having that time for yourself, it's got to be priority. And I tell people, make it a priority. Even though you may be in a storm right now and you may have so much growth going on, so much pressure, so much of whatever going on in your life, you've got to make that a priority.
When you were in that valley, did you recognize that it was a season that would pass? Did it feel hopeless? What was it like in that valley, or did you have a plan? You shared with us the advice of what you did, but did you see it? Did you see the end? Did you see the light at the end of the tunnel as you were going through that?
I did not. In the beginning, I said I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I was blessed and thankful that I had a job that I could be able to provide for my family. I've got 5 children, and at that time, 2 of them were in college, and I've got 2 older children, 3 younger children, and they're kind of spread out. But I had 2 in college at that time. Wow. Fortunately, they were good athletes, and they were able to get some scholarships to help out.
That's good.
During during that time, I didn't really see how it was going to change for a long time. I said, because I had so much debt piled up on top of me, that I said it's going to take a long time to dig out from under this. With just a pharmacist's salary and nothing else. But I began to learn things as I was driving. I spent a lot of time on the road. I learned at that time what podcasts were.
Yeah.
And started listening to podcasts and listening to different teachings and sermons and things that gave me some hope. It was at that time that when I started listening to podcasts that I learned about a man named Dan Miller that had written the book 48 Days to the Work You Love. And not long after I learned about Dan, started listening to some of his stuff, he started talking about another book he was writing with his son, Jared. And, that intrigued me, and I started listening to him and other podcasts at the time, and I learned so much, and I got a lot of hope from that. I ended up connecting with Dan, ended up being coached by Dan. Now I'm in a mastermind with Dan, and, things are, just totally different. But the things, what I did back then, even though I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, those things that I put into my life and things that I started doing and those practices even of listening to podcasts and listening to things and trying to learn new things as I was traveling up and down the road, going to all those nursing homes, those things gave me hope that, hey, the stories I would hear and listening to Dave Ramsey as well. Right. I went through Financial Peace University. My wife and I did during that time, and so we heard a lot of hopeful stories that encouraged us and helped us to know that, hey, someday things are going to get better. It's going to get better. And the principles we began to put in place of what we learned in Financial Peace as well, even as we were going through these struggles and on beans and rice, a diet that Dave talks about. Right. We learned a lot, and I'm thankful today.
Let me ask you about. I mean, when you look back, I mean, I've had businesses that have failed in the past with there wasn't the right time or the market changed or whatever it was, and so I understand that sting and that disappointment. Man, it's big. Mm-hmm. When you look back now and you see that as a mosaic of kind of how it's created who you are, how important were those failures or were those trials to make you the type of person and the quality of person that you are today?
Oh, they were absolutely important, and I can look back on those things and say I'm thankful that they happened now because of what I learned, and because of the people that I have connected with since all that happened. That if it hadn't have happened, I wouldn't know what I know now about business. I wouldn't have learned the things I learned. I wouldn't have made the connections with the people I've been connected with. I learned, I learned all about coaching and what coaching is and what it means to have a coach, and to be a better coach myself. I can look back and say that. And I was at a mastermind event this past week. And one of the guys in our mastermind got up and gave a talk about the worst day ever was his greatest day ever. Wow! It was an epic failure in his life, but it ended up being his best day ever because of what he learned from it. I can look back on that and say that as well.
Wow, and I like that. I write sometimes about scars and how they shape the character of, and I wouldn't trade them because I've learned so much from them and they're reminders. Do you feel like you're able to identify now when you see a challenge, or does it help you now from your past to say, I recognize this because I've been through it or I've been through something like it? Does it make it easier for you when you look forward to the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and. I can look forward in the business that I've started now, this new clinic that I've started, and hey, I've got great hopes for it. I believe it's going to be very successful. But if something happens and it's not, I've been down that road before, and I can say, hey, it'll be okay. Right. It'll be okay.
That's great. That's amazing to have that perspective and to have that experience. So tell me a little bit about you talk about spreading the good news. Tell me about those 7 keys to a more quality and quantity of life.
Yeah. This is something that came out of some of those night walks and ideas, and that as things began to progress and get better in my life, and my head began to clear, a lot of these things would come to me at night as I was taking those walks. But the 7 keys to living happy, healthy, and whole, 7 essentials for happy, healthy living, or something that came out of that. But the good news is there's the acronym is NEWS with a couple of extra S's there, and to make 7 letters. And N is for nutrition, E is for exercise, W is for water, the first S is for sleep, the second S is for supplementation, the third S is for the soul, and the last one is for spirit. So it's a program that I came up with, that I teach, that that addresses the body, soul, and spirit, and the health of our body, soul, and spirit. And all 3 need to be healthy for us to have optimal health. All 3 need to be clicking. All 3 need to be in balance, and all 3 need to be healthy for optimal health.
That's great. So you help people get the most out of life by working with them to uncover the root cause of their health issues. Is that what your new clinic is about?
Yes.
Tell me more about the new clinic. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. This is one of the dreams that I've had in my life that's come true, and I've had a doctor here locally where I live that I've worked with for years. She believes like I do, as far as using natural products. She's an MD that practiced traditionally, but she's a big, strong proponent of helping people learn about natural alternatives and recommending them to them as well. And we've kind of sent patients back and forth to each other over the years, as I've been in the pharmacy business and she's been in the traditional healthcare medical business. And we would send people back and forth to each other. And I've told her for past few years, hey, you need to get out of this practice that you're in this big group practice that was controlled by a hospital. And I said, you need to get out on your own and practice the way you really want to. And so she called me a few months ago, end of last year actually, and said, hey, I'm ready to start doing what you've been telling me I need to do. But I want you to do it with me.
Wow.
And she said, I want us to open up a clinic together. And so she came up with the name, the Life Transformation Medical Center, and in March of this year, we opened it up.
Wow.
And it's a clinic that's provides traditional medical care as well as holistic care. And I'm working with patients doing coaching and consulting, and assisting her with advice on natural products. And it's just it's something that I had dreamed about, and we've got big plans to take it to a whole nother level in the near future with other healthcare practitioners.
Wow, that's exciting. So this is what's one of your proudest personal and professional accomplishments that you've had in your life?
Well, as far as a personal accomplishment, I would have to say marrying my beautiful wife and having 5 beautiful kids. That I feel extremely blessed to have. And that would have to be one of my proudest personal accomplishments. As far as professional, I would say what I was just talking about, opening up the new Life Transformation Medical Center. Yeah.
So tell us about, if somebody wants to learn more about you, you have a book available as well, correct?
I'm working on a book.
Okay.
That's on my wish list for accomplishments is a book. Working on a book. I hope to have a book published by the end of this year.
So tell us about your coaching, man. Your Fit in 49.
Yeah, I do have Fit in 49. I do have I have written a journal that goes along with the Fit in 49 course. I have Dr. Phil's Fit in 49 journal. That's part of the course that we do. And with the Fit in 49 is something I originally taught in my church. And we took the course, we developed it into a little online course. I'm working with a online marketing person that's been helping me with some things, and we're looking at doing some online training, live online training pretty soon with the Fit in 49 program. I've got some plans with that. I'm working with a coach of mine, Aaron Walker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Aaron, but he has...
we've actually interviewed him recently as well.
Yeah, Aaron has a company called View from the Top, and Aaron has asked me to work with him as a health coach and be a health coach for his community, and to teach the Fit in 49 to the men in his community. So there's different things that I'll be doing with Fit in 49, and we'll be also working at teaching it in the clinic here. Is one of the plans that we had in opening this clinic, was to be able to teach courses here through the clinic to people who are seeking natural health. So we're looking forward to that as well.
That's exciting. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience today about dealing with stress, about dealing with disappointment, and looking to the future?
Yeah, I would say a piece of advice that I wish somebody had given me years ago, and they may have, I may just not have been listening, was don't try to be Superman. Don't try to do it all by yourself. Hire good people that can do things better than you can do it, or do things at least as good as you can do it. And maybe not as good as you can do it, but they can take that pressure off of you. And I try to do too many things myself, and I had the mentality that if it was going to be done right, I had to do it myself, and that was wrong. And I learned that. So I would advise any young entrepreneur, or anybody that's out there as an entrepreneur starting a business or whatever, or if you're in one already and you're trying to do it all by yourself, stop, get some help, and get somebody that can help you. Hire a coach if you need to coach you in doing things that you need to do. Hire the right people to do the things that you are not that good at, and you focus on the things that you really are good at.
Great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. If our listeners want to learn more about you, how do they contact you?
They can contact me at carsonnatural.com. Go to my website and find out all they want to about me there. I've got everything there. My blog is there. My podcast link is there, the Feeling Good podcast that I do each week. If they want to follow me on Facebook, I do a Facebook Live broadcast every Friday called the Feeling Good Fridays. Also, Derek, I'd be happy to offer your listeners a free 3-page guide that I give away. It's called The 7 Keys to Living Happy, Healthy, and Whole.
Oh, we appreciate that.
And we can create a link if you want to, carsonnatural.com/BLS, if that's okay with you.
That's great. Thank you so much. And so carsonnatural.com/BLS.
Yeah. And they can go there and get the 3-page guide, 7 Keys to Living Happy, Healthy, and Whole.
Excellent. Dr. Carson, thanks again for being our guest. I look forward to following you and seeing your continued success and to seeing you in the community and seeing you around. Thanks again.
All right, thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. It's been an honor today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.